I grew up with Enzo Lin and we got engaged before he joined the army. Later, Enzo Lin climbed the social ladder by getting involved with his superior's daughter to force me to break off the engagement. The Lin family plotted to ruin my reputation and caused my grandmother's death from anger. In despair, I threw myself into the river. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day I was forced to break off the engagement. This time, I want Enzo Lin to kneel and beg me to call off the engagement. 1. Ren, are you listening? Aria Lin's dissatisfied voice pulled me back to reality. I stared at her in a daze. Had God really heard my prayers? I had truly been reborn. Aria Lin continued to chatter on, trying to persuade me. Ren, my brother really only sees you as a sister. We were all too impulsive back then. Even if you call off the engagement, we'll still be good sisters. In the future, when my brother gets promoted, he definitely won't treat you poorly. Coming back to my senses, I sneered inwardly. What audacity! After being engaged for several years as fiancés, now that he's climbed to a higher branch, it's suddenly become sibling affection. In my past life, I failed to see through your family clearly. The fact that I haven't taken a knife to all of you now is purely due to my high level of self-restraint, struggling to conceal my emotions. I brushed off Aria Lin's hand and walked out impatiently. Bring the engagement token to the brigade headquarters tomorrow. We'll ask the village chief to serve as a witness then. Returning home and seeing my grandmother busily working under the dim kerosene lamp, I finally felt the grounding sense of having truly returned. Grandma, I choked up and rushed over, hugging the little old lady tightly in my arms, breathing in the comforting scent that filled the air. In my previous life, because of the broken engagement, I was deeply unhappy. And Grandma's anxious white hair increased overnight. Later, when I was framed and my innocence was destroyed, Grandma became so furious that she vomited blood on the spot. By the time I returned home, Grandma's body was already cold. So cold is the blood, as cold as when I lay at the river's bottom. But now, the person I hold in my arms is warm, and their blood flows. How nice. The next day, I woke up early and went to the brigade headquarters alone. The Lin family was already there. Probably to avoid being stared at when more people gathered, the village chief, seeing that everyone had arrived, took a few deep puffs of his cigarette and then asked me, Ren, yesterday Aria said you agreed to call off the engagement. Is that true? I glanced at Aria Lin and Mrs. Lin, who both looked anxious. Slowly, I replied, Uncle Chief, I agree to call off the engagement, but I have one condition. Oh, you silly girl, look, Mother Lin said while holding my hand. Pretending to wipe away a couple of tears, over these years we've spent together, I've truly come to see you as my own daughter. It's a shame we don't have that mother-daughter bond. Dear, tell me, whatever condition it is, I can agree to it. I smiled and shook his hand back, casually dropping a bombshell. I want Enzo Lin to get down on his knees and beg me to agree to call off the engagement. 2. Aria Lin and Mrs. Lin screamed simultaneously, impossible. Lin's mother withdrew the hand I was holding and viciously poked my forehead. You heartless creature, my son is an officer now. Why should he kneel to you? This is truly an eye-opener. Who do you think you are? Why don't you take a piss and look at your reflection to see if you're even worthy? Aria Lin looked at me as if she had been deceived, her eyes slightly red. Ren, that's not what you said yesterday. Don't act all pitiful in front of me. I'm not falling for your innocent act anymore. I turned to look at the village chief, smoke swirling around. Uncle Village Chief, do you think my request is unreasonable? The village chief continued smoking without responding. Aria Lin, don't blame me for being heartless. Your Lin family started this by acting inhumanely. Over the years, I've bought you plenty of nice things, and you've eaten countless meals prepared by my grandmother. Where is your conscience? Your entire family has been using me from start to finish. Did you think I didn't know? Even if I didn't understand before, I do now. After confronting Aria Lin, I turned to look at Mrs. Lin. Auntie, back when my parents were still alive, you didn't think much of me, but as soon as they passed away, Aria came to befriend me. Wasn't it all for my parents' compensation money? Mrs. Lin's face instantly turned pale, then flushed with anger. And Enzo Lin, I suspect his intentions aren't pure either. I'm giving you face. But don't think you can bully me just because I'm an orphan. I rubbed my forehead where Mother Lin had poked me. It actually hurt a bit. That old hag really has some strength. The village chief quietly smoked 2 cigarettes and finally stepped in to make his presence known after we finished arguing. Ren, let's be practical. Enzo Lin is thousands of kilometers away from us right now. How is he supposed to come back and kneel before you? Uncle Village Chief has finally gotten to the point. I spoke slowly and deliberately, then have him write a letter of annulment and send it back. Once we receive it, we'll return the betrothal gifts, and from then on, we'll each go our separate ways when it comes to marriage. Alright, let's do it that way. Before Arya Lin and Mrs. Lin could object, the village chief made the final decision. The village chief made the final decision and sighed as he looked at Arya Lin beside him. Lin girl, write a letter to your brother and tell him to get things done quickly. After thanking the village chief, I was about to head home with light steps when Arya Lin stopped me. Do you need something? I frowned at her, a fresh slap mark on her right cheek. There was no need to ask. I knew it was that old hag who had hit her. Ren, does the hairpin you promised to buy me a while back still count? 3. Hair. I looked at Arya Lin and for a moment, I didn't know what to say. In my previous life, she was just like this. I treated her as a good friend. While she saw me as a sucker, she could take anything of mine by pretending to be pitiful. I sneered at her. What a load of crap. The things I bought for you before and the stuff you took from my house add up to about $100 in total. Pay up. Arya Lin looked at me in disbelief. I have no money. If you have no money, there are ways to manage without it. I dragged Arya Lin straight to the Lin family's house. Mrs. Lin happened to be out. Once we entered the room, I started rummaging through everything. Hair clips, hair ties, malted milk powder, skirts, little leather shoes. I didn't mind any of it and took them all. I turned back at the door and opened the cabinet by the bed. Inside were 2 high school textbooks. So I took them all with me. Since fate has given me a second chance at life, I must walk a different path, take the college entrance exam, change my life. In my previous life, I was deeply depressed over the broken engagement, crying my eyes out every day. After the college entrance examination was reinstated, even though I had a solid high school foundation, I never even considered taking it, completely wasting a great opportunity, living a second life. I want to correct the course of my life. I will use the college entrance examination as my way out of this small mountain village, taking my grandmother to see more of the outside world and letting her enjoy the blessings of having grandchildren. For, not long after returning home, Mother Lin came over with a group of people. She lay down in my courtyard and started wailing. You, raised without parents, how dare you commit robbery in broad daylight? If I hadn't returned home and noticed something was wrong, our Arya would have been too scared to speak. Give back what you took from our Arya. Lin's mother's wailing grew increasingly intense and impassioned, gradually drawing the neighbors to gather around. I looked at Lin's mother and said, word by word, those things were either bought by me or given by me. If I no longer wish to give them, what's the problem with taking them back? What do you mean, no problem? As if she had caught me in a loophole, Mother Lin stopped lying down. With a swift movement, she sprang to her feet, pointing at me. She chatted excitedly. Since you gave it, it belongs to our Arya now. Once something is given away, there's no taking it back. Isn't that right, everyone? Exactly. Once you give something away, it's no longer yours. Ren, what you're doing isn't right. You're not right about this. Who finds it easy to earn money these days? How can you ask for it outright? It's one thing if it's your own family. But aren't Ren and the Lin family about to call off the engagement now? Yes, uncle, you're right. I completely agree. The people around were murmuring, and neither side could settle who was right or wrong for the moment. Lin girl, what do you say yourself? Arya Lin stammered and avoided eye contact. Mother Lin wore a fiercely protective expression. What the hell are you talking about? Is this any of your business? Who asked you to meddle? Do you think my daughter needs your interference? Instead of figuring out how to get your own son married, you're here sticking your nose into other people's affairs. I said in a sarcastic tone. No one wants to discipline your daughter for you. However, I suggest that before you come to my house to make a scene, you should at least ask your precious daughter whether I offered those things to her or she asked me for them. As soon as I finished speaking, Arya Lin covered her face and ran out. Everyone instantly understood, however. Mother Lin didn't feel her face getting hot. Although people need face like trees need bark, some people simply have no shame. Just as Mother Lin was preparing to argue with everyone, Grandma suddenly shouted, Sweetie, get inside quickly and close the door. I had just dashed into the house when a bucket of unidentifiable substance, emitting a strong, foul odor, was splashed all over Mother Lin. Mother Lin immediately started jumping and screaming, "Tian Gui Hua, you old, worthless bitch. It serves you right that your son died. You can actually do something so disgusting." Everyone started vomiting uncontrollably. It wasn't an act. The smell was truly overwhelming. Mother Lin also screamed and rushed home, leaving a trail of fragrant aroma along the way. Milk. I looked at my own yard with a pitiful expression. How am I supposed to clean this up? It's like wounding the enemy 1,000, while losing 800 of your own. 5. A few days later. At noon while I was cooking, Dog Egg came running in panting heavily. Lin, Sister Ren Lin, Granny Tian, and Granny Lin are fighting in the field. It took me a moment to realize who Granny Lin was. I took a handful of candies from my pocket and handed them to Dog Egg. Dog Egg, you're so good. From now on, whenever you have news about my family, come and tell your sister, and I'll make sure you have plenty of candy. After saying that, I went to the restroom, picked up the chamber pot, and headed straight to the fields. When I reached the edge of the field and saw a crowd gathered, I immediately shouted, "Move aside, all of you move aside, otherwise, I won't be responsible if innocent people get hurt." The onlookers glanced back at what I was holding and immediately cleared a path, though they were reluctant to move too far and miss the front row view of the drama, taking advantage of the parted crowd. I barged straight into the center of the circle and winked at my grandmother. As soon as she stepped aside, I started splashing without hesitation. Once again, it was a chorus of oohs. Although the lethality wasn't as great as the bucket Grandma had thrown, the smell was still hard to bear. Mother Lin, her face pale as a ghost, scrambled to her feet and lunged at me with a ferocious expression, like a vengeful spirit. Being splashed with feces and urine twice in just 1 week, who could tolerate that? I pushed my grandmother away. At that moment, the crowd was scattered, so I immediately dashed toward the riverbank to take her for a bath and wash away the smell. When I reached a slippery spot by the river, I tightened my core and threw myself to the side, avoiding Mrs. Lin's move. Mother Lin then plopped into the river. At this moment, the crowd of onlookers also caught up. I watched Aria Lin, who seemed to want to say something but hesitated, and simply ignored her. After Mother Lin was fished out, she was fine, as the river water wasn't too cold. However, even after coming out, she still wasn't behaving and was itching to hit me. I took a step forward and glared at her. "Do you still want to taste the power of shit, piss, and filth?" Mother Lin immediately froze in place. I quickly covered my nose and took 2 steps back. The center area was just too disgusting. Just then, the mail carrier arrived on his bicycle, ringing his bell. Ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling. Aria Lin, Aria Lin. "Who is Aria Lin? There's a letter for you." Aria Lin quickly ran over, and after reading the letter, she looked at me with a flickering gaze. I thought to myself, it must be Enzo Lin's reply. And now there's going to be some drama. 6. Sure enough, the next day, Lin's mother came to the door. She got straight to the point. "My son said the military discipline is strict, so he can't write the letter to break off the engagement. You'll have to write it. Hurry up and write it. Once it's done, I need Aria to go to the post office to mail the letter." After saying that, he pulled out a handful of sunflower seeds from his pocket and started cracking them. I laughed directly. "What I want is for you not to be able to write." I walked over, snatched the sunflower seeds from Mother Lin, and said while cracking them, "I can't write, and neither can your son. It's him who's out there aiming high, waiting to marry into a wealthy family, not me. Anyway, I have time and I can wait. I'm not afraid to drag this out." Mother Lin stared at me in shock, as if she couldn't understand where the timid, obedient, and understanding Ren from before had gone. When the feces and urine were thrown before, there were external factors at play and I didn't pay much attention. But thinking back now, it's clear that things had already changed long ago. It can't be that she's been possessed by a spirit, can it? Watching Mrs. Lin's face shift like a color palette, I couldn't be bothered to guess what she was daydreaming about. When Mrs. Lin snapped out of it, she reverted to her villainous demeanor, spewing nonsense. "Pa, don't think that just because you refuse to write, you can cling to my son and suck him dry. So this is what you had in mind. I'm telling you, Ren. Whether you want to write this letter of annulment or not, you have no choice in the matter. If you write it obediently, our family won't make things difficult for you. But if you don't know what's good for you and try to cling to my son, you'll regret it, with your history of bringing misfortune to your own parents. Even if we tried to sell you off to some old widower, no one would want you. Slap asterisk. I immediately raised my hand and slapped her, then gave her another slap on the right side. Symmetrical on both sides. After finishing, I headed straight to the bathroom. Mrs. Lin wanted to throw a tantrum and roll on the ground, but as soon as she saw where I was going, she turned and ran. Haha, you little rascal. Grandma came out of the kitchen and patted my head, looking pleased. My dear granddaughter has grown up. Even if Grandma is no longer here, I can rest in peace. Grandma, I choked up and said, didn't we agree? I'm preparing for the college entrance exam right now. Once I finish the exam, I'll take you out. Outside is unimaginably vast and prosperous. When the time comes, I'll find a job and earn money, and you can just enjoy life with me. I've already made all the plans. You just need to wait a little longer. Grandma nodded with tears in her eyes. I leaned on the little old lady's shoulder, my tears soaking her clothes. 7. Ren, I was just about to go to the village committee to find the village chief when Dogdan ran over. Looking at me with an expression that said he had news, I pulled a handful of candies from my pocket and handed them over, wiping his runny nose as I did. What a messy kid. Dogdan stuffed the candy into his pocket and started chattering, while Ironhead and I were playing hide and seek by the haystack. I overheard Granny Lin talking about you with someone else. Something about arranging to meet you at night to catch an affair, to teach you a lesson. Dogdan frowned and said with an embarrassed expression, but I couldn't tell who the man was. Probably not from our village. I crouched down and patted Dogdan's head, telling him, don't tell anyone about this for now, keep it a secret for me. After Dogdan left, I thought to myself, it's finally happening. The most crucial factor that led to Grandma's death, in my previous life, Arya Lin suddenly came to reconcile with me, saying she had something to whisper to me. As a result, I went but couldn't find anyone. After waiting for a long time, I was just about to leave when I felt a sharp pain in my neck and passed out. When I woke up again, Mother Lin and the villagers were pointing fingers at me. My clothes were disheveled, and next to me was some unfamiliar rogue. At that moment, I felt dizzy and my ears were ringing, completely unable to hear what the people around me were saying. Although it clearly wasn't the cold winter, I felt as if I were in an ice cellar. But there was no need to listen. Their expressions of disdain and contempt said it all. Stumbling home, I only saw my grandmother's cold corpse and a pool of fresh, icy red blood. A neighbor said that when my grandmother heard the news about me, she wanted to come find me, but in her agitation, she collapsed and never got up again. Holding my grandmother's cold body, I desperately wanted to crash into the wall and die, but I couldn't, after my parents passed away. Despite my aunt's wish to take her away, my grandmother insisted on staying to take care of me, because she knew I had no one else to rely on but her. At the very least, I wanted the little old lady to leave this world clean and dignified. After the funeral, I was in a daze, unable to understand why it felt like all the malice in the world was directed at me. It wasn't until Mrs. Lin gave me a letter of annulment written by Enzo Lin himself that I understood why. 8. After Enzo Lin joined the military, he worked hard for several years and is now a mid-level officer. He tried every possible way to force me to initiate the annulment of the engagement, simply because the military does not allow him to abandon his wife. But what if the other party has a stain on their reputation? When his attempts to force me to break off the engagement failed, and I pressured him to write a letter of annulment. The easiest path for him now is to frame me for adultery with another man and have me caught in the act. After dinner, Arya Lin indeed came to find me. She looked at me with a face full of anxiety, wanting to speak but not daring to. If you have something to say, say it. If not, leave. My home doesn't welcome anyone with the surname Lin. Ren, are you going to be this cruel to me? Arya Lin looks as fragile as a porcelain doll at this moment, and for a second, I almost softened and told her to go home and not come looking for me. The next second, Arya Lin continues to strike at the heart. Ren, can we go for a walk? I feel there's some misunderstanding between us. I agreed. The place Arya Lin mentioned is a small cabin near the foot of the mountain, which is usually rarely visited by people. As we approached the small cabin, Arya Lynn suddenly exclaimed, "Ouch. Ren, I have a bit of a stomachache. Wait for me at the cabin, I'll be back soon." I deliberately furrowed my brows and asked with concern, "Is it serious? Let me go with you to check it out." No, you go wait for me in the cabin first. I need to go home to use the bathroom, and I'll be right back." After saying that, Arya Lynn turned and walked away. I quickly picked up a stone from the ground and threw it at her. Fortunately, there was no bleeding. I dragged Arya Lynn into the cabin, then hid behind a nearby haystack, waiting for someone to come. After a long while, someone finally came swaying over. It was still that same good-for-nothing from my previous life. I closed my eyes and continued waiting. About an hour later, Mother Lynn arrived with some people. A group of people, holding hoes, moved lightly toward the small wooden cabin. As soon as they entered the small wooden cabin, Mother Lynn let out a sharp, piercing scream. After that, various ambiguous sounds intermittently drifted out, mixed with Arya Lynn's screams and sobs. Mother Lynn snapped out of it, jumped up, and started shooing everyone out while cursing. "Keep staring and I'll dig your eyes out to feed the chickens. Old Man Lee, if you keep looking, you old bastard, I'll chop your thing off." Taking advantage of the chaos, I went straight home. From this moment on, my life has finally turned a brand new page. 9. Early the next morning, Mother Lynn stormed in with a murderous look on her face. "Ren, you wretched girl, get out here. Was it you who harmed my Arya? You heartless creature. Arya has treated you like a real sister all these years, and you actually harmed her like this. I should have drowned you in your own toilet a few days ago." I glanced at the inner room and saw that Grandma was already awake. I shook my head at her, signaling her to stay lying down. I quickly put on my shoes, rushed out, grabbed Mother Lynn, and slapped her repeatedly on both cheeks until they were swollen. "You old hag, I'm warning you. Don't act like an elder in front of me. If you keep spewing filth from your mouth, don't be surprised if I slap you every single time." Perhaps my imposing presence was too overwhelming. As Mother Lynn stood there stunned for a long moment, unable to speak, when she finally snapped out of it, she started cursing and lunged at me. "You wretched girl who brought misfortune to your own parents. How dare you lecture me? I'll teach you a proper lesson today. If I don't make you kneel and apologize, I'll take your ancestors' surname. Although I've been reborn into this life, I really can't handle this kind of fighting style." She doesn't hit anywhere else, just keeps punching my chest and clawing at my face. Seizing the opportunity, I dashed into the inner room, grabbed the chamber pot, and came out to splash its contents directly. The plum blossoms bloom for the third time. And Mother Lynn has gone even crazier. Just then, a few people rushed in from outside, covering their noses as they pulled Mother Lynn away. The village chief walked in, furrowing his brow, and said, "It's always your two families causing endless trouble. Today, we're putting an end to it for good." I rolled my eyes dramatically. "Uncle Village Chief, did you see the expression on my face? Did I go looking for trouble every single time I've been the victim? Do you really think just because I'm an orphan girl, I'm easy to bully? You keep causing trouble for me again and again." The onlookers looked embarrassed. The village chief coughed twice symbolically and said to Lynn's mother with a serious expression, "Enzo, Lynn's mother, stop making a scene. If there's something to discuss, then discuss it properly. Let's resolve what can be resolved, and for what can't be resolved, I'll try my best to find a solution for you." Hearing this, Mother Lynn immediately perked up again. She glared at me sharply. "Ren, was it you who tricked my Arya into going last night and let her get bullied? It must have been you and that good-for-nothing who teamed up to do it." "Village chief, I'm calling the police. I want this wretched couple to go to jail and eat prison food." "Woo-woo, my poor daughter. What happened to Arya Lynn? Didn't she go home to use the bathroom because of a stomachache last night?" I looked at the village chief with a confused expression. The village chief seemed not to have expected this kind of reaction from me. His face turned dark red, and he stammered for a long time without being able to say anything. Someone nearby couldn't stand it anymore and said bluntly, "Oh, you haven't been out. So naturally you don't know. Last night, the Lynn family's daughter was caught having an affair with someone, and it was her own mother who caught her. Haha. Don't you think it's ridiculous? She had her own daughter exposed, and then turned around to cause trouble for the Shun family's daughter." The surrounding chatter grew louder, and Mother Lynn's eyes bulged as if she were about to go mad. The village chief quickly had someone hold her down, waved his hand at me, and said, "Girl, where were you last night? Do you have any witnesses?" I shrugged. "Your dog egg is the witness. Last night, Aria Lynn came to reconcile with me, saying there was a misunderstanding and we needed to have a good talk, so we went to the small cabin at the foot of the mountain. Before we even got there, Aria Lynn said she had a stomachache and went home to use the bathroom, telling me to wait for her at the cabin. I waited for a long time, but she never showed up. So I went home. On my way home, I saw your dog Dan running out, barking and howling. I said with an innocent look, 'If you don't believe me, village chief, just go home and ask Dan yourself.' The village chief twitched his lips unnaturally. Ren is right. Last night, Dog Egg was disobedient, so I slapped him twice, and he ran out. I smiled without saying a word and stepped back to stand aside. Mother Lynn, of course, didn't believe it. She broke free from the person holding her, rushed over, and spat a foul-smelling glob of phlegm at me. "She's just making it up, and you believe her, village chief. It was those two adulterers having an affair in the wild, and when my Arya discovered them, they framed her. She's just, all right, then let's call the police." I directly interrupted Mrs. Lynn's words, looking at her and saying word by word, "If you think I conspired with others to frame Aria Lynn, then call the police and let them find the evidence. Do you dare? When the police come, the questioning won't be as casual as our brief exchange. They'll take everyone to the station and interrogate them one by one. I have a clear conscience and fear no knock on the door. I wonder if the same can be said for some people." Mrs. Lynn stood aside, looking guilty, and no longer dared to mention calling the police. Seeing this, the village chief understood everything. It was a case of intending to harm others but ending up harming his own daughter instead. What a sin. 10. And there's a second matter, Uncle Village Chief, Ren. Go ahead and tell me. Uncle Village Chief will do his best to help you solve it. Honestly, my old bones can't take you all causing trouble every other day. The village chief looked helpless. I frowned. It's about the letter of annulment. A few days ago, Enzo Lin replied saying he couldn't write the annulment letter, and that I had to be the one to write it. But I can't possibly write it either. Since Enzo Lin is the one demanding the annulment, he must be the one to write it. If Enzo Lin really doesn't want to write it, at worst, I deliberately paused here and looked at Mrs. Lin. At worst, what? At worst, I'll just take a car over there and personally make him write it, but the travel expenses will have to be covered by the Lin family, since it's their mess to begin with. I just don't know what punishment Enzo Lin will face then. Maybe. Before I could finish, shouts came from outside, a group of people yelling and running. Something terrible has happened. Aria Lin has drowned herself in the river. Mother Lin shuddered all over, broke free from the people beside her, and ran home. The courtyard was instantly emptied. I don't think Aria Lin truly intended to end her life. It might have been a momentary impulse, or perhaps she used this as a pretext to make a statement for herself. The aftermath of Aria Lin jumping into the river spread by the afternoon. The loafer said he could marry her, but there would be no betrothal gifts. Instead, the Lin family had to provide a bicycle as part of her dowry. Mrs. Lin was furious but had no choice. If she disagreed, she would truly be forcing her daughter to her death. The wedding banquet was arranged at a leisurely pace, with little joy in the air and very few guests invited. Just a couple of days later, it was said that Mrs. Lin had fallen ill. She had suffered a stroke. 11. The letter of annulment was delivered by Aria Lin. When she entered, her hand was pressed against her flat abdomen. Though it should have been a gentle gesture, her eyes glared at me like a venomous snake. "Ren, are you satisfied now, seeing how miserable I am? Does it make you happy? Don't argue with idiots." I stood up and walked over to Aria Lin, my tone icy cold. "Did I cause your miserable situation? If it weren't for you and your mother scheming against me first, would you have fallen into your own trap?" Aria Lin, you're at least a middle school student. Don't you understand that those who commit many unjust acts will inevitably bring about their own downfall? Anything else? If not, then leave. We're not in a relationship where we can chat about everyday matters now. I'm really impatient to continue this pointless argument any longer. I turned to leave. But Aria Lin suddenly knelt before me. "What are you doing?" I quickly bent down to help her up. If I'm not mistaken, Aria Lin is already pregnant. The early months are the most unstable, and I really don't want anything to happen to her at my place. "Ren, for the sake of all these years we've shared, I'm begging you for one last favor, Aria Lynn, clutching my leg, said through gritted teeth. I want Enzo Lin to fall into the dust, never to rise again and chase his officer dreams. If he's heartless, don't blame me for being unjust. This is what he owes me. This is what he owes me. Aria Lynn became emotional and started shouting and screaming. Aria Lynn, calm down. I frowned at her hysterical behavior and pulled her over to sit on a nearby stool. Tell me, why do you want me to do this? Aren't the two of you biological siblings? Aria Lynn's tone was frenzied. He's not my brother. He's the one who made me like this. As she said this, she seemed to snap back to reality and looked at me with gleeful schadenfreude. You didn't know, did you? Everything my mom and I did was all suggested by my brother through letters. Ha 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 ha. Ren, does it hurt deep inside? You're not still in love with him, are you? I'm telling you, he never liked you. He's always been using you, and once you're no longer useful, he'll just kick you aside. I spoke calmly. I know, after all, you and your mother simply don't have the brains for it. All the brains in your family have been allocated to just one Enzo Lin, Aria Lin, TSK, TSK. I continued. As for the pain, I don't feel any pain at all. After all, you are all strangers to me now. Aria Lin stood up and walked out. When she reached the door, she suddenly said, do you know why my mother fell so ill so suddenly? Enzo Lin also sent a family letter back. In the letter, he said he was punished by the military for writing the letter of annulment. He was almost demoted to a common soldier, but someone interceded for him, so he was allowed to stay. Now he's still bedridden and unable to move. I know you have the ability to bring down Enzo Lin. Ren, call me wicked or vicious if you want, but with just a stroke of his pen in that letter, he brought me to this state. I won't rest until I've taken a piece of him with me. Aria Lin's venomous curse seemed to still echo in the room, unwilling to accept it. Are you? What a coincidence. Neither am I. 12. Soon enough, the day of the college entrance exams arrived. Grandma is constantly busy and never stops, especially when it comes to food, as she's afraid I might make even the slightest mistake. After the college entrance exams ended, the tension I had been holding finally eased. So I decided to personally go to S-City to give Enzo Lin a big gift. I waited at the entrance of the military family compound for 3 days and finally caught Enzo Lin. He looked at me with disbelief, seemingly unable to understand how I could be here. I pulled Enzo Lin aside, took the letter out of my bag, and got straight to the point. Give me $1,000, or I'll show this letter to your girlfriend. The letter was a series of family letters Enzo Lin had written to me over the years. Although the content was proper, it still carried a certain affection, and Enzo Lin's girlfriend definitely wouldn't be happy about it. After reading the letter, Enzo Lin's voice turned fierce. Ren, do you really think I'd let you blackmail me? A woman like you, coming to an unfamiliar place, it wouldn't be unusual for something to happen to you. I lit a candle for Enzo Lin in my heart, pointing at the security guard. He said, see him. I told the guard that I'm here to find my treacherous fiancé, and that I'll come looking for him every day for the next 2 weeks. If I don't show up, it means something has happened to me. And he should find someone named Enzo Lin to report him for his treachery and for abandoning his wife. Enzo Lin turned pale, seemingly not expecting my plan to be so thorough. Trembling, he said, you're asking for too much, 500 at most. I sneered, thinking he still saw me as that weak Ren. I stood on tiptoe to straighten Enzo Lin's collar and then spoke leisurely. Not a penny less. I'll come find you in 3 days. Don't try any tricks. I've already memorized the way to Captain Sue's house. 13. 3 days later, Enzo Lin delivered the money as promised. There weren't many 10-yuan bills, probably gathered from borrowing here and there. He also took out an agreement, and I glanced at it. It basically said that I couldn't bother or threaten him anymore in the future. After signing the agreement, I suddenly remembered something and said mockingly, Enzo Lin, do you know that your dear mother has had a stroke? And Aria Lin has already gotten married and is pregnant. She married a good-for-nothing. Enzo Lin looked up at me stiffly and said fiercely, you are truly wicked. Ren, Aria is, after all, the sister you grew up with. How could you be so heartless? Why should I be heartless? You were the ones who intended to scheme against me in the first place. I was merely retaliating normally. And Enzo Lin, I looked at Enzo Lin's face, filled with hatred, resentment, and a mix of lingering fear, and said calmly, don't think too highly of yourself. To me, you're just trash, understand? I threw the agreement in Enzo Lin's face and turned to leave. I've been out long enough and should head home. Otherwise the little old lady will definitely worry. Before leaving, I met with Su Miao's father. As expected of a leader, he exudes an upright aura with a resolute expression. After showing the letter of annulment to leader Su, I tactfully expressed how Enzo Lin had abandoned his stroke-stricken mother in their hometown and what he had done to me, his former fiancé. In order to climb the social ladder, I believe that Su Miao's father will give me justice. 14. City H. XX University. My roommate Li Ran coquettishly hugged my arm and shook it, putting on a childish voice. Ren. I'm going to your house today to eat the braised spare ribs and crispy little fish your grandma made. Tilda. I looked at her with amusement, cut out the baby voice and talk normally. Li Ran playfully stuck out her tongue, grabbed her bag, and pulled me along as we left. After dinner, I helped my grandmother lie down, and she held my hand with a satisfied expression. She said contentedly, "This kind of life was something I never dared to dream of before. We never had such good days in the past." Yes. We never had such good days in the past. Just a few days after returning from S City, I received my college admission letter, causing a stir in the village. No one had expected that a college student could emerge from their own remote mountain village. The village chief held my hand with tears streaming down his face, repeatedly praising me for making him proud. Before leaving, to express my gratitude for everyone's care over the years, I hosted a banquet, both as a celebration and a farewell. After Grandma fell asleep, I returned to my room and took out the letter sent by the village chief. It said that Enzo Lin had been discharged from the military for unknown reasons and returned home. On his first day back, he went to Aria Lin's in-laws' house to bring her home. However, an argument broke out, and he suffered a severe head injury. Aria Lin was so frightened that she had a miscarriage and is still in the hospital receiving emergency treatment. Mother Lin, in a state of great shock and joy, passed away on the spot, her eyes wide open and unable to close. After reading the letter, the corners of my mouth lifted into a smile. It felt so good. Only when the wicked receive their deserved punishment will my rebirth in this life be worthwhile. In this life, I will truly live for myself.